Becoming a Sales Superstar, part number 10, which is we have almost come to the end of this whole session. Probably one more session we will complete what is left. This whole program by Brian Tracy. Today we are going to look at key number 18 and key number 19. Key number 18 is the sales funnel, and key number 19 is having clear income and sales goals. So let's look at what is this sales funnel all about. Some of the people who have been in sales, they will understand this, but some of you may not have heard of it. So any professional selling has got three fundamental steps. Very, very basically speaking, three fundamental steps. What are those steps? These steps, they have stayed the same for millennia, right from the time that sales ever started. This is the same process that has been going on. Even today, it is the same process that is going on. What are the steps? First step is prospecting. Second step is presenting. And third step is follow-up. These are the same standard steps. Now, within this, there can be a bit of nuancing. For example, within the follow-up, there will be a section on objection handling, which we looked at some time back, but that is a subset of the follow-up itself. So broadly speaking, there is prospecting, presenting, and follow-up. Okay. And these three steps is what constitutes what is called a sales funnel. And why is it called a sales funnel? Because the way things flow into it, it flows in the form of a funnel. It is in the form of an inverted triangle. So let's look at it in more detail and you will understand what I mean. So we start with leads that we have. We start with contacts. So if we see in the context of our Indus Viva project, possibility that we are talking about, we have all our friends, our relatives, our contacts, all kinds of contacts, they all form the leads. So we have spoken probably much earlier about how to identify these leads. We can revisit it, but the leads are what is feeding into the funnel. So the first step is prospects. So this prospecting step is not the 100% of the leads. You first shortlist and identify who are the people you're going to prospect. And this can be on a day-to-day basis, on a week-to-week basis. There is a shortlisting that you do. That shortlisted number is the prospect for that point in time. So there is this set of prospects. Now let us take as an example that you have shortlisted 20 prospects. Okay. Now these 20 prospects, what will you do? You will, first of all, when you're shortlisting this 20, you would have shortlisted on the basis of some criteria that right now they have a requirement, or if it is from the business point of view, right now they have a financial requirement and they are willing to, take it on as a possibility, probably willing to take it on as a possibility. All that, some criteria you've used and you've shortlisted them. If they are customers for our products, then you would have shortlisted them on the basis of right now there is some known health problem that somebody or the other in their family has, and you're presenting this possibility to them. So you've shortlisted the prospects, 20 of them. When you actually go to the prospects and tell them that, look, there is a certain possibility like this, and you want to tell them the details, this number of prospects will come down. That means the number of people to whom you actually present will be less than the number of prospects. That is why it is like an inverted triangle. That number will keep narrowing down. So the number of people, if there are 20 people you have prospected right at the start, then approximately, or as an indicative number, it could be more or less, but typical number that averages out is about 5 people, 5, 6, 7 people you will end up presenting. Out of those 5 people whom you presented, the people who reach the follow-up stage will be 2. That means you have presented to them and then you are trying to follow up with them. Some of them will respond, some of them will not respond. So those of whom you are able to follow up, that will become 2. And out of these 2, finally, a sale will happen to 1 person. Okay. So please understand that this funnel is always like this. It's a funnel. At the top, it will be very broad and it will narrow down. And finally, it's a small trickle that comes out. So if there are, as an indicative number, 20 people you are prospecting to, 5 you will present, 2 will follow up, and 1 sale, which means that when you start with 20 prospects, you will end up with a sale of one person. That means there is a huge amount of attrition that happens in between. And therefore, the number one rule from a sales funnel point of view is always keep your hopper full. You should always have a very large number of people to whom you are continuously prospecting. That means this thing at the top should always stay full. If this has to stay full, how will it stay full? This leads number should always be, it should be almost infinite, that leads ka number. I want all of you to think of what I'm talking now with respect to how you have been doing it so far. If you have tried to do, reach out the products to your friends and family or anybody else, or even the business possibility, look at how you have done. We are saying that this thing should always be full. That means always there are people available for prospecting and presenting, which means that your leads number should be so huge that it is like an infinite source. Okay. So therefore, we are saying, as far as the sales funnel perspective or point of view or technique of peak performance selling, keep your hopper always full. Okay. Which means that 80% of the time you're focusing on prospecting. You're not focusing your 80% of the time down here or in between. You're focusing 80% of your time in finding more and more people to feed into the presentation thing. Okay. And the follow-up is only 20%. And remember, don't get this mixed up. Don't make this ulta. It will not work. This thing has always got to be always full. So therefore, you have to spend maximum amount of time trying to ensure that this is always stays full. Okay. The prospects must be far more than whom you can actually meet. Even on a day-to-day basis, even if you're working the whole day, the number of people that you can meet should be much less than the number of prospects that you have. So I hope you're getting the point that the number of prospects you have should be so high that even if you work full time, morning to night, if you work, still you cannot exhaust them. That is the way you have to work. That is the only way that this technique works beautifully. It's just a game of numbers. Last week, we looked at the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule applies, definitely applies here. And you can see that this whole trend. Okay. So therefore, never allow yourself to run out of prospects. You should never reach a situation where you say that, oh my God, I don't have anybody to make the presentation to or anybody to talk to. If you are serious about the business, if you are serious about growing it, you should never allow yourself to run out of prospects. Okay. Always remember that this 80-20 rule will apply, right? And therefore, you will need to go through a large number of prospects to get a small number of sale. And that's the way it always happens. But just remember this, that the people in between whom you have presented or you may have followed up, but they have not accepted your offer, it does not mean that these are a closed case. Just ensure that you do a certain, we have something called a 5-star follow-up. That means they say that a minimum of a 5 to, what they say is that after somebody has seen anything new for the first time, for them to take a decision, they need a minimum exposure, repeated exposure of anything from 4 to 11 or 13 times they need. So if you average it, it comes to around 7. So a minimum of 5 exposures. That means when you're following up, your follow-up should be a minimum of 5 times. And don't spread this 5 times over like weeks and months. Just follow up quickly and then move on. But whoever has not accepted your offer, just move them by 6 months and follow up again after 6 months. This is a golden rule that you apply. Okay. But remember that this 80-20 rule will always apply. Initially, when you start with 20, finally it's 1. After subsequent follow-ups, this number may increase. That means some of these will come here. But overall, the percentage will never exceed something like 40. It will 50% and all is like rare. Okay. So 30 to 40% is typically what will convert. Initially, it is always 20% or less. Okay, so remember that the 80-20 rule will apply. What is the 80-20 rule? Last week we have discussed it. Please visit the last week's video and check out what it is. So remember that we have to go through a lot of prospects to get a very few number of sales. Remember this is true universally. It's not about Indus Viva at all. It is about every sales everywhere across the world. That's the way it works. So you are out of business if you do not have a prospect. Just remember this. It's so simple. If you want to be in business, you should have an unlimited number of prospects. Who has said this? This person who's got this name, Zig Ziglar. Okay, he's a renowned, he's the author of a number of books. He's an author, a salesperson, and a motivational speaker. So he has said this. If you are out of business, if you do not have a prospect, it's as simple as that. Just ensure that you have a large number of prospects. If you have a question about where do I find my prospects from, there is a whole separate presentation that we can do about how to have infinite number of prospects. Right. Continuing with the next key, the 19th key to peak performance selling, have clear income and sales goals. We have seen in the past, in the previous series that we saw of how to peak your personal achievement. In that series also we saw it. Setting goals is so important for you in life. If you do not have a goal, then you're just drifting. Okay, what they say is a dream is just a wish unless it is converted into a goal. Okay, so if you have dreams, you may have fantastic dreams, but unless you clearly set it, convert it into a goal, it is just a wish, it's just wishful thinking. And what do we mean by a goal? A goal has a clear milestone, a clear date, everything is quantified about the goal. It's not like a just, oh, I want to do something like this and open-ended, time is open-ended, how much you want to do is open-ended. It's not like that. Goal is completely quantified. So have clear income and sales goals. So therefore, in this context of selling, you must have clarity about how much income do you want to generate. And this generation of income, how much of sales do I have to do to generate it? That clarity, if you cannot have, you will not go far because you'll just drift. Randomly, you'll do something. If at all something happens, it happens. Remember that you cannot hit a target that you cannot see. That is why this goal is so important, that you should be able to clearly see what is it that you are working towards, or which direction are you going. The highest paid salespersons have very, very clear sales and income goals. They are very, very clear. Okay. To what extent? It is broken down by year, month, week, even day, and sometimes even by the hour. Okay. To that extent, they are clear that every hour that I spend, am I moving towards my goal or not moving towards my goal? We will look at what this means. Let us take an example that you want to earn, let us say 5 lakhs in 1 year. Okay, this is just an example. You can set whatever number you want and you can do the similar calculation. You divide it approximately by 250, 250 being the approximate number of days that you will work in a year. Okay, this is like an approximate number. This is pretty good enough, which means that if you want to generate 5 lakhs in a year, then you have to be generating 2,000 rupees a day. What does that convert to? Depending on the number of hours, here I took a number of 4 hours as the number of hours you work. You can change it according to the number of hours that you plan to work. See, the point is this, that if you have some fancy goal, but you are not willing to put the time that it takes, you are not going to get here. And when you do this maths, you will actually understand whether you are going to get there or not. Okay, so it is very useful to do this exercise. So suppose it is 4 hours per day, then it means that I must be generating whatever that 4 hours I'm putting in, every hour I should generate 500 rupees. In terms of our business, what does it mean? That if I am targeting that through retailing, I want to generate 5 lakhs a year. Okay, then every hour of the day that I spend, I should be retailing one product. This is what it means. So that means in a day, I'm retailing 4 products. Okay. Now, you don't start thinking of, oh my God, is it possible, not possible? That's not the way to look at it. You look at, see, at the start of it, it may be impossible. But When you start working towards it, when you start gaining the necessary skills, when you start doing the right things, when you start practicing and repeating, get more and more well versed with the what to talk, how to talk, this whole skills. When you build it, you will find that you will be able to do it much better in course of time, much better. Your efficiency and your results will significantly go up. So from this moment onward, please discipline yourself. What? Refuse to do anything that will not give you 500 rupees an hour. If you are serious about earning this income for yourself, please set the maths and find out what is that number of rupees per hour that you have to get. And whatever time you are investing in this, please ensure that you do not do anything that you are wasting your time that does not give you this result. Refuse to do anything that will not pay you 500 rupees an hour. So that means, see, a few sessions earlier in this series, we looked at how important it is to utilize your time well, to plan your time and utilize your time well. This is where it comes. That utilizing time well will have an impact over here. So now just look at it. To earn this 500 rupees per hour, there are just three things that we have to do. Okay? Prospecting, presenting, follow up. That's it. Just rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Prospect, present, follow up. Prospect, present, follow up. This is all we are doing to earn this. Okay. Now, it is not that, okay, in our experience, you'll see, oh, I have hardly earned anything. But the fact is that if you look at any sales situation anywhere in the world, if you look at average, most salesperson, their results are very, very average. Why is it so? There have been actually studies which have been done in the US. They have actually, actual with a stopwatch, they have seen how much productive time does an average salesperson spend in a day, actually on sales. They have found that in a whole day, he's spending only about 1.5 hours. That's all. Just 1.5 hours he's spending. In fact, I remember listening to Brian Tracy, where some company hired him as a consultant, and they said that, look, we want to increase our sales. So the first thing he told them is give all your salespeople a stopwatch and tell them to just document. So he asked the management team that how many hours do you think your salespeople are actually working, generating sales? So they gave some number, 5 hours, 6 hours, some number they gave. He said, no, it will not be that much. It is much less. It will be about 1.5 hours. Actually, it turned out that it is just that much. Okay. So now here is the simple trick. The fact is that most people are wasting most of their time. And this is true for you and me also. Most of the time we are wasting. If we are serious about our goal, then we have to see how we are utilizing our time. There is no two ways about it. But here's the interesting thing. You can double your income by simply doubling the number of minutes that you spend in just these three steps, face-to-face or online, whichever way we are contacting our prospects with qualified prospects. You've shortlisted the prospects and you're, interacting with them. If you just double the time that you're spending, right now, whatever you're spending, you just double it. Your income will double. What are we doing? Prospecting, presenting, follow-up. That's all we are doing. Without changing even one single thing other than this about yourself or about any other skill. You're not picking up any other skill, nothing you're doing. You're not changing anything about yourself, just this one thing you're doing. You've just doubled the amount of time you're investing. Your income and sales will double. This is something Brian Tracy actually did this exercise with that firm. Okay. He just told them that, look, this is the actual amount of time that you guys are spending on sales because it was actually measured. He said, you just double this number. And they actually went out and they also became conscious because they themselves did not realize. That is, the salespersons themselves did not realize that they're spending so little time. So they just consciously increased the amount of time they spend and the company's sale just doubled. Okay. So that's the way it will work. I want you to just try this and see. Please give this a fair chance. You see, each one of these things that we are talking about here are very, very actionable things. Just apply it in your life and see the kind of results that you get. You'll get dramatic results. So if you don't know where you're going, you will probably end up somewhere else. You understand what this means, right? You don't even know where you are going. So obviously you will not get where you want to get. You will get somewhere else only, you will land up, right? You have to have goals. And that's the reason we have to have goals. Again, this is a quote by Zig Ziglar. I have not yet read any of his books, but having seen the quotes, I'm now curious to see what is the kind of books that he's written about. Of course, he's been into sales, so, and I've heard his name many places quoted by other people, Zig Ziglar. So please remember this, that if you do not know where you're going, you will probably end up somewhere else. Okay. I hope all of you are clear that you don't want to end up somewhere you don't want to go. Please ensure that you land up where you want to go. So better to have goals than not have goals. So that's the session for today. It will be continued again. There are 2 more keys, and the next session will be the next training session will be the last in this series. So thank you very much.